Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Right Now Leaders, brought to you by the Early Impact Empowerment Group. My name is Andre Early. Just call me Dre. And I have a couple of guests with us today.
Wynne Brown. Graduated from Webster University in 23. Majored in accounting, and right now I'm in the banking industry.
My name's Solomon Thomas. I graduated from the University of Pennsylvania Wharton School of Business in 2023. I majored in management and entrepreneurship and innovation, and currently I'm working in the intersection between finance and technology.
Awesome. Awesome. So today, fellas, obviously I know you guys, so we're just literally going to have a conversation. But the whole concept of this series is about how we can impact, not only those that are your current generation, but those that are coming after you. For those that don't know, I am very passionate with mentoring and helping those that come after me. So this is just a new way of doing it. So let me ask you this, because this is just going to be, like I said, this is just going to be a conversation, right? What made you go into finance?
You want to start with that one?
Sure. Well, I do believe that it started probably long before I went to college. I would say I was always interested in math. I always liked numbers. I was good in school growing up in general, but I found math particularly like fun or interesting. And along with that, my grandmother, she was my dad's mom. She was a businesswoman, a salesperson, as well as a realtor. She's Jamaican, so she had a lot of a couple jobs at the same time. But growing up, the two that I remember the most was she was a salesperson. My grandmother and grandfather owned a franchise for Aris Electrolux, so they sold vacuum cleaners, and a realtor as well. So there would be summers when I would go and be with my grandparents for a number of weeks or however long, and we would always be making runs. Me and my older brother, we would go in the car with my grandmother and watch her go on sales runs, and she would bring us inside sometimes, her talking to the customer, selling the product. And that always interested me and inspired me, and I was like, yeah, I like this entrepreneurship, selling things, being a business person. I always liked that aspect of it. So I kind of knew that I wanted to do business as well. So once I got into high school, there was this program called the Academy of Finance in my high school, which is 2 years, junior year and senior year, where you take a set of business courses, right? So I got into that, and I enjoyed the courses that I took. And so I was like, okay, I like this. I think I want to study business in college. So, I was a good student academically. So I was raised to be a very high achiever, and I'm like, yeah, I want to go to the best business school that I can. So I applied to Wharton, and I got in, and that's kind of where that all started, where I got the full breadth of various business fields and business industries in school. And yeah, that's kind of how I got into to business. How I got into finance particularly is originally when I got to school, I wanted to major in. I knew I wanted to major in management. There was entrepreneur, and I knew I wanted to do entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship was under the management major, so I was like, I'll do management, and since I'm here, I might as well double major. I feel like a lot of people were double majoring at the time. So we were like had the best finance program in the undergraduate business world. So I was like, I'm here. I might as well do the finance thing. Then I took finance. I didn't really like it that much. So, and at the same time, they pulled the entrepreneurship major out of the management major. So I was like, I can still double major, both management and entrepreneurship. But I got an internship at a bank my sophomore summer, and it was a good experience. It was a good time, and I stayed there and I went back full time. So I kind of got into finance through my internship experience.
Okay.
Yes.
That's what's up. I'm gonna come back to you for a quick follow up with that one. Though. Go ahead.
Similar to solo, well, a little bit more simpler than that. I feel like as a kid, I always knew I wanted to be a businessman, quote unquote. So every year for Halloween, I would dress up in a suit, going around shaking hands, Wynne Brown businessman. And so it kind of started there. And in high school, my high school offered accounting classes. So I started to take accounting classes, got familiar with the language, and really liked it. So I continued doing that in college. And similar to solo, I got a internship my sophomore year in college. And from there, got the traditional internship and started there full time. And that's kind of my path to finance.
Gotcha. And this is actually for both of you guys. In my experience, it's one of those things. You got your grade school, middle school, high school, ninth grade. That's when the grades start to count. Solo, you talked about your family, so that technically, like, you had support. You were raised to be like a high achiever, right? What can we do to assist those that might not necessarily have that type of support, or even, they even have an idea, and I'm talking about the students. They even have an idea of what they want to do, but they don't know how to go about getting on that path.
Yeah. So honestly, my first answer to that, I think what's very important is exposure early and often.
Yep.
Because a lot of times people from communities of color, they don't have the exposure that a lot of these other communities have. And what you'll see is that, there's the saying, if you can see it, you can be it, right? But if you don't see people in certain careers, or maybe you don't see people that look like you in certain careers, you don't think it's accessible. You don't think it's accessible, and you don't really see yourself in those positions. So I think exposure to individuals, whether that's through content, whether that's through career days at school, whether that's through extracurricular programs where you get to interface with men of color, or individuals in those fields in your own communities. I think that is a great starting point for getting young people interested, getting stuff on their radar, right? Because I feel like once you have things on your radar, that is when you can begin honing in your own interests. Like, I like what this guy said. Let me do some research on my own and figure out a little bit more about what that looks like. Because, today you have the world at your fingertips on these smartphones, on these computers.
That's right.
So you can do your own research, but a lot of times you need somewhere to start. You need something to look at. So early and often exposure, I would say, is a great first step.
Awesome.
Yeah, kind of just double clicking into that. I say cast the net as wide as possible, as early as possible. And as you get older, middle school, high school, start to narrow that down a little bit into what you're really interested in. And by the time, you get to 10th, 11th grade, and it's time for applications and things like that, you kind of have a couple of different paths you can go down. So to shorten that up, exposure, for sure.
That's definitely. I think Solo can attest to some of the things that we did in regards to some of the community-based organization, fraternities, sororities, and what we try to expose, college students, high school students to. What you guys are early on in your career. So, what does professional growth look like to you guys?
I think right now, professional growth for me is kind of coming in, or just coming in every day and trying to learn something new. There's so much that I don't know. There are people that have been there for 20, 30 years as long as I've been alive in the field. So I think every day coming in, trying to soak up all the knowledge I can, learn as much as possible from those who have been in there longer than me, is what growth right now looks like for me.
Yeah, I like that point. For me, I am definitely in a place in my career. I like what JR said earlier about cast a wide net, because when I had went into college, I didn't necessarily know what I wanted to do. I just felt like I can do anything, right? And even as I went on, I kind of discovered things that I didn't like, but I discovered things that I did like that were in very different places. And I'm like, dang, how am I really gonna scratch all these itches? So even now, there's still things that I want to do that I'm not currently doing, and I'm like, okay, maybe at some point I'll pivot. But I do feel like the career is called a career journey for a reason. You know you can navigate it and see fit what you want to do at what time. But I say that to say, right now I'm in a place in my career where I'm focused on building my technical skills, right? I didn't have a technical background in college. I studied business, primarily qualitative majors in management and entrepreneurship. So now I'm in analytics, which is more tech focused. And I really have appreciated the opportunity to build my technical skills. You know, there's some coding languages that I use at work that, I learned on the job. And then just how to do, certain analyses and structure them. So I feel like as a business analyst, I've definitely gained some technical skills in that world. And I want to dive even deeper into the technology world, because I do feel that technology is the next forefront, is the next, horizon, and particularly AI, right? I'm really interested in AI and the capabilities of it. I really feel like that's the next frontier. So I want to work on AI like as a part of my work, so I get to learn that technology at a fundamental level and figure out how I can leverage it later on in my career, so I don't get left behind or anything like that. I kind of want to be on the other side of the canyon, so to speak, before we get there. So I know that my next move ideally will be either on an AI product or maybe even at an AI company. So, but yeah, focusing on the technical skill buildings.
I do want to double click into something Solo said, because I think as junior talents entering the workforce, like your best or your what you should be most sound in is your technical ability, your math, Excel, PowerPoint, things like that. You have to be really technical, and as you grow in your career, you become more high level, more strategic. So I guess I'm gonna throw some advice out there for the youth. Be very sound in the technical aspect, but never lose sight. Always have or first sight into what the bigger picture is. So that's my advice. I'll let you continue though.
Okay, so interesting you say that, because I'm just a few years older than you guys, but I'm on the other side now. I'm about to prepare for retirement and figuring out what's going to be my next chapter, right? You guys are pretty much early on in your career. You touched on technical and technology, right? Do you think I'm dealing with individuals that they were born with technology,
Right.
right? How do they actually navigate using technology to their advantage for their career journeys?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, the terminology that we use is tech native, right? They are born in the era of this like rapidly changing technology landscape, and they're native to it, such that they've been using smartphones, tablets, etc. Since before they could even read. They knew what buttons to click to pop open the Baby Shark video on YouTube. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So, given that aspect of it, the tech nativity of this next generation, they are able to pick up these skills a lot quicker with new technologies because technology has also been changing rapidly throughout their lives and they've changed with it. So they're much quicker to adopt and adjust to new technologies. It's not as jarring to them as when, we switched from mail to email, right? Some people didn't know how to log on to a computer, right? But I don't think they'll have as much difficulty switching or upskilling to new technology. So in terms of leveraging it for their benefit in that early career success, I do think there's a lot that the education, it's not like, yeah, I guess the education system, but like schools can do to teach students how to safely and properly use tools like AI. Like, I feel like when ChatGPT first came out, teachers were like, don't use ChatGPT. That's cheating. This, that, and the third. But I think the right response is to, yes, let's use ChatGPT. Let's use it properly though, right? Let's use it as a tool to aid and abet in our research, our documentation, our paper writing, fact checking, mathematics, whatever. Because I do feel like it's a very powerful tool that is meant to assist and just help us get that much more efficient in the things that we do. So I think it's the proper use of technology and learning that early on that will help students in that early career.
I want to play the other side of what Solo said. I want to caution a lot of students or a lot of parents of these younger people that are coming up in this advanced stage we are in now with AI and things like that, because the level of critical thinking that we have and common sense, I feel like even in my generation is going down or it's getting worse and worse. And I feel like you can attest to this from your generation to our generation. The common sense, the critical thinking is going down. So yes, we should use the technology to our advantage when it comes to certain things, but we shouldn't get away from the critical thinking behind reading, being able to comprehend something and then speak to it, being able to do mathematics by hand, being able to do all these things just as who I am without any technology before getting deep into the tech, the AI, and the things like that, just so we have a baseline of being able to think through stuff and reason through things properly.
Yeah, I wanna jump in really quick. I 100% agree with what JR just said, and I think we're uniquely positioned, folks probably in JR and my age and older as well, because now with the advent and proliferation of AI, it's a tool that we can use to get more efficient, to do things quicker. But we have the background, we grew up without it, right? Yeah. So we have the background to which we were doing the problems by hand. We learned the skills, like we learned the reading comprehension and ELA, how to dissect a passage and notice the different parts of speech, the different tenses, the different things that are used.
So we know when things are off, because AI isn't always correct.
That is
like
correct.
We could read something and say, this doesn't sound like, or maybe they didn't capture everything the right way. So we're able to go in and just use AI as a baseline and then go in and further tweak and further edit whatever AI puts out or whatever this tech puts out.
Exactly.
So to your point, I even use it, as a resource, as a tool. But as I, go through what is, given to me, what do I do? I use it as a foundation. So it's like, okay, does this even sound like me?
Yeah.
And then does it make sense? Now, I'm a little bit more advanced when it comes to, the way that I process information, how are we effectively telling or working with the the current students
Yep.
on how to actually process information, which goes back to the whole critical thinking and things of that nature. So
Yeah, just to wrap it up, I think the tech can be used to make things more efficient and move faster, but I don't think we should get away. I don't think that we should just let it do the work for us.
Yeah, and I think that's where the risk is with the newer generation. It's like not having the foundational skills to be able to do it yourself, to be able to catch mistakes if something else does it for you. That's where the risk is, because without it, if something ever happened, computers go down. Now we have a whole generation who's not no work's able to get done because the technology is not available to get it done.
right.
But I do, while that is the risk, or that while that is a risk, I just see the trends of the of technology, of the world, of where things are going, and I do fully believe that we're leaning more into letting AI do the work, letting and not having people behind it to check it. Like, I think that's where things are going, right? The you guys see it, or maybe you don't notice it, but even in our day to day, like commercially, AI is being deployed all over the place. It's in customer service apps, right? Whenever you probably send a message to your bank or try and get contact support, it used to be bots that respond. Well, it used to be like people that responded. Then it became bots. Bots weren't trained, or they had just a subset of responses to choose from based on your issue, and then they might connect you to a live agent. Now the service is a lot better because it's AI who's responding, and they sound like real people. They have like natural language processing. They sound like real people, and they're able to service your issues a lot better, but they're limited in what they can actually do for you in the sense of, like, maybe your issue is so unique and somebody can like just pull a switch, be like, okay, fine, we'll credit it back. But the AI might not be able to act. They might not have the power to credit it back, so they're gonna give you this runaround, this rigmarole, or maybe they are able to service your issue.
No, they haven't.
Yeah.
So it's not 100% foolproof because I have
Exactly.
some experience with that one.
So I think commercially these things are being deployed on a large scale, and yeah, things are going to get more efficient. Companies are going to get more profitable because now they don't have to hire as many agents, but it is a consumer risk in the sense that there may be negative experiences that are tied to this. But I think a lot of times corporations will see dollar signs and just, that's the way things will go.
Yeah.
For better or for worse. Because while there are pros, there's also cons.
As always. As always. So at this stage, and I still categorize you guys as early career hires. What do you consider, or how do you define career success at this point in your life right now? And then how or what type of advice can you give those that are about to start their career journey?
I can start with the second one. I think starting with the second one, something that I learned early on is that just doing good work doesn't necessarily mean you'll get that promotion and that you'll get noticed.
That's fair.
Being able to speak to your work and being able to speak to it well will get you further than just putting your head down and working. Like, you have to actually put yourself out there and let people know what you're working on. Like, the work will not speak for itself. You have to speak for it. So that's one of the biggest things that I've learned so far, being in corporate America. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I think it depends on the field you're in, right? I think in finance, in more of these business centric, people centric fields, that's definitely, the qualitative is almost as important as the quantitative. I think as you get into more technological fields like software engineers, software developers, they may have to speak towards their work less. It's kind of more so the output and the impact of that output. But obviously, socializing it is important as well. For me, what is advice I would give? I would say definitely build those connections, build those networks with those folks who've been in the industry for a long time, or maybe not even in your industry, maybe things that you are interested in. Just like make connections, talk to people. I think talking to people is so important because I have a saying. I say everybody knows something that you don't, and you can learn something from every conversation you have, no matter how in depth or how high level the conversation may be. One thing I also like to do is sometimes I like to just be a fly on the wall. I have mentors who are senior directors, senior vice presidents, and sometimes like I'll be with them, I'll be chatting with them, and somebody will come up to them and they'll just start having a conversation. I step back, I listen and I absorb. I want to understand, okay, right? I just came in. What are the conversations being had at the senior director level? 10, 15, 20 years into your career. What does work look like for you, right? And what better way to understand that besides from a first person perspective? So sometimes I like to sit back and be a fly on the wall, and overall just be a sponge, absorb everything you can. It's definitely tough. You can't know everything. You can't learn everything, but be a sponge, absorb as much as you can. And that's also where that network piece comes into play as well. Because you can't know everything, you can't learn everything. Since everybody knows something you don't, you kind of know who knows what.
Right.
You know your subject matter experts. You can tap them for certain things.
That's a good one.
And share those learnings. So they kind of all come together in a sense. So that would be a couple pieces of advice.
I got one more piece of advice. As you were talking, I thought about this, and I think this goes over a lot of people's head. The ability to read the room. Like,
Wait, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that, please?
the ability to read the room.
Do you know how important that is?
Yes, and I'll give kind of an example, especially relating back to what I said earlier, being so technical, being so deep into the work. You're so quick, like as an analyst right now, I used to be so quick to come to meetings and like get right to business and start talking about, whatever work product we're going to discuss in that meeting. But people get into meetings, they're talking about their vacation, they're talking about watches, they're talking about et cetera, et cetera. You have to be able to take a step back and say, okay, the work will get talked about, the work will get done. Engage in that conversation, because people want to work with likable, personable individuals. And so you coming in and getting straight to the business is, yes, a good thing, but in the moment, you're not reading the room and engaging in that conversation that's being had. So I think reading the room can separate you, and then going to speak up, taking a step back. Reading the room can separate you from somebody who just wants to work all the time.
That's fair. From a personal experience, I definitely support what you say. And keep in mind that we are forever learning and adjusting, because I even catch myself sometimes not reading the room, because all I want to do is just get the work done.
Yeah.
Because I have a time schedule and I know I have to get certain projects done, certain things off my table. But then I literally have to sit there sometimes and just take it all in. I'll let them get comfortable and do what they want to do. But I get it.
Yeah.
I do have, well, you know what? Let's do this. When I look back over my life and I'm just processing things, I have one word which just keeps coming up. How I describe or how I define my career journey. My word is impactful. What's yours?
Get one word.
All right, let me take a stab at this. One word to describe my career journey thus far, or what I want. Okay, thus far, I would say for me it's been network.
Network.
For me it's been network, and I'll tell you why. I am a part of and I came into a rotational program at work. A rotational program is one that you get hired and you have the ability, not just the ability, but as a part of the program structure, you work on the team for 1 year. You work on a team for 1 year in one part of the bank, and then you move to a different team for your second year in a different part of the bank. I appreciate that because it gives me breadth. It gives me breadth and depth. Like I get to go super deep in this one topic, understand what it is fundamentally for a whole year, and then I get to move to a different team for another year. So I get to understand more about what my company does as a whole. I get to tap people in one space doing this one thing, the next space doing this one thing. So I get to learn a lot, right? The breadth is there. But I've had a lot different, or I would say a more rich experience than some of my counterparts because of the ability that I have to network, right? I've had mentors, like I said, in very high positions of the bank who have, I've had enriching conversations with, and they've been able to toss me certain opportunities to be a part of certain meetings or a part of certain projects and programs. And then I'm passionate about giving back to students, talking to students. So since I interned, sometimes folks will reach back out to me and be like, hey, we're getting a new class of interns. We have students who are interested in applying. Like, will you come talk to them? And I always say yes. And also because my program's not the most diverse, when they want to get in front of diverse students,
Gotcha.
I'm a natural pick. So I'll always get tapped for things like that. But I always say yes too, for the most part. If I have the ability to finagle it in my schedule. So I've had opportunities to travel to all different parts of the country, and we're on recruiting trips and meet the teams who are running these our national partnerships, so who are sponsoring different conferences and things like that. And because now I know them, they'll reach out to me, so I kind of get first dibs at to get to go to certain schools or to get to go to certain conferences that I feel is not very common in general. But then to just do as many as I do is definitely I'm almost confident in saying like I've traveled the most for my job for my job for my job out of anyone in my program. I've been to just all different parts of the country. Next year, I know we got some new schools in our portfolio in Puerto Rico and Mexico. So I may be on going to one of those schools at some point. But yeah, it's been really cool. So I've been able to leverage my network for positive experiences, both in work and outside of work. That's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
About your life outside of work and the different opportunities and different experiences that you have to further enrich your life. But in both places, in both realms, I think it's been network.
Awesome.
Yeah.
JR, what's your word, baby?
My word would say resourceful.
Resourceful.
I think Solo hit on this a little bit earlier, but I'm not somebody who claims to know everything. I don't know everything. I probably never will. But for the things that I don't know, I know somebody who does. And I know somebody who knows it well. Therefore, I can go and tap Solo. Hey, Solo knows about this topic better than I do. I'm going to go spend some time with him and learn it just as well as he does. And therefore, now I have that. And I just keep rinsing and repeating that. I've done that throughout my career. And it's been fruitful. So, resourceful.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
So, I didn't talk about it earlier, but I have a non-for-profit called the Economic Justice Partnerships. So it kind of ties in perfectly to what you were asking, because we the mandate of our organization is that we teach first generation low income and minority college students about financial literacy through a social justice based lens, right? So we kind of put in that financial literacy education into the perspective of, okay, our communities have been left out by the system, right? We haven't been supported, for one reason or another, and we're kind of playing catch up. So we put it into perspective and just help the students understand what's going on, right? Because a lot of times they don't have a financially literate background. I think that's kind of the story of like the cycle of poverty, right? Similar, to go back to what I said before, if you can see it, you can be it. So we do this work. One of the main value props of the program is that for each student who graduates through our program, we give them $250 to put into an IRA so they can begin investing for retirement, 18, 19, 20 years old. And then we try and build that into a habit for the students. So I think financial literacy is important, extremely important, especially when put into perspective. And in terms of ownership, it's slightly a different question, because while there are probably millions of small businesses, and like you can venture out and do your own thing with entrepreneurship, it's not for everyone. It is an extremely challenging thing to do. A lot of times, especially like people from our communities don't have the resources to get things off the ground. We kind of spoke about this earlier, or the information. So a lot of times, people will go to work, right? Work for a company, work for a business, however, and not everyone can be the employer, at least initially. So I think it's very important when young people are going into work, if that's the path they choose to embark upon, they're learning as much as possible. Like, yes, you want to know how to do your job, but also understand, how does this business run? How does this business make money, right? Because a lot of times folks won't understand that as a fundamental level. Because if you want to go out on your own, have ownership, you need to know how to make money, how to navigate either certain relationships, certain deals, how to position yourself in a market. There's a lot that goes into owning a business, being a business owner. But that's not the only type of ownership that there is, right? Business ownership. The way I think about it for myself and my own personal life, when I want to broach the topic of building wealth, I think it's having multiple streams of income. So you're not reliant on your one job, your one paycheck. Because if you have multiple streams of income, one, the rug gets pulled out under you, one drops, you still have other things to fall back on.
Right.
I think it's very risky, but also very common to be overly reliant on the one stream, the one thing you got going on. So for me, it's multiple streams. I think of ownership and entrepreneurship in a couple different lenses. I think real estate, right?
Okay.
Get some ownership through real estate. You can rent out properties. That's a great form of ownership. It's tried and true in this country for building wealth. Real estate is a great route. You can have ownerships in corporations without working there. That's called owning some stock. You can have ownership there. That's another passive stream of income, whether that be through dividends, distributions, stock splits, etc. And then, ownership, obviously you can own your own business. We talked about that path. That's probably, people think about that typically, with entrepreneurship. And then, just the other types of investing, whether that be investing in your friend's small business, investing in startups, investing in, crypto, if you will.
Right.
But there's a lot of different types of ownership, so you can think about it in different ways.
I got you. Well, just to give you a heads up before JR, so, you know, looking at the career path, especially like my career path, in a previous life, we discussed learning how to avoid debt. We might want to revisit that during a next episode, right? But EIG, it came up because of some personal things were going on, and uh, I stepped away from a position, just so I could just focus on me, and we came up with this entrepreneurial bend to what I am passionate about anyway, and that's helping others. So when I look at entrepreneurship, to your point, it's not for everyone. It's not for everyone. It's a lot of hard work. However, I have an opportunity to have these types of conversations, and it's very rewarding. You know, so I think I'm on the right path. So Jr., you have probably a different perspective regarding what we're talking about.
Yeah, I'm gonna add. This may surprise you. But as long as you're working at a corporation or somebody else's, you're an employee at somebody else's company, there'll always be a cap on what you can make. And I think
That's fair.
when you start to go out on your own and create your own thing, there is no cap. You can make however what you eat, what you kill, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you go out and get is yours to keep. However you want to split that up is how you split it up. But having that cap has motivated me to start kind of creating my own thing. And me and Solo have created the Uptown Collective, which you've heard about, where we kind of
Ah, yes.
bring the community together. We have different types of parties and things like that. And I think knowing that there'll always be a cap at the company I work at has kind of has motivated me to go out on my own and trying to build that out. But also building community. Like Solo talked about investing in real estate, investing in all these different things. As an individual, especially living in New York City, that isn't always achievable. So building a community of like-minded people, building a community of people similar to you,
Mm-hmm.
allows you to do that. I can't do it on my own, but me, Solo, Joshua, other people that we know, 4 or 5 of us, now we can, make something happen. So I think community building is just as important as having the right mindset because you need other people. You can't really do it alone. You need other people with you. So that's
I,
my take on it.
I agree, and and as a elder statesman, I was very proud of what I was able to witness at one of your events, and I was just like, wow, these young heads are really doing it here. So that I don't think I ever told you guys that, but
Appreciate
I,
that.
I was very very proud, and it ties into the network.
All ties into the
It
network.
all ties into the network
Yeah.
because uh, if you're sitting around the table and everyone is thinking alike, you're not going to have that much success. Bringing different mindsets, different ideas and concepts, and then realizing the bigger picture. Yeah, you. At the end of the day, you guys still inspire me. One more question.
Go ahead.
One more question. And it's more so, I don't know, do you do the recruitment thing
Yeah,
or
I've done a
it,
little
okay,
bit.
all right, so you're out on one of your recruiting trips, and you're speaking to a group of young college students, and you just want to be as relatable as possible to them. What type of advice could you share with them in one sentence?
Wow, these are
One sentence, Solo.
summing things up. One sentence.
Some of the best advice that you can impart or actually have experienced.
One sentence, no explanation.
Yes.
What got you here won't be the same thing that gets you there.
Wow. That's okay.
Okay, that was
That's
that
okay. Okay.
was quite the poetic sentence.
But that's so true. Oh, we stumped the panel.
I mean, for me, it's really just keep your eyes open, keep your ears open, learn as much as possible. And be an impactful member of your team.
No. Those are honestly those are true nuggets right there. No, seriously, because at the end of the day, you still have to keep an open mind, and clearly, there has to be an opportunity to pivot in the face of adversity.
Yeah.
So, well, that's what's up, fellas. I'm pretty sure time it has arrived. Thank you for spending a moment with me and what we're trying to accomplish here. This will not be the last time that we come together just to discuss a few things that could actually assist those that need a word. Solo JR, thank you. Thank you for joining us today. We are excited about Right Now Leaders. This was our kickoff, our first episode. So we are excited about the journey that this will take. Our next episode, which will be coming soon, we're going to dive deeper into learning how to avoid debt. So join us for a conversation with some Right Now leaders. Thank you for joining us.